Divinest Rise, Grand Rising. Blessed be to your day. May it be everything you require to create everything that you desire. Yeah, may it be everything you require to create everything you desire. We understand, or we should come into the understanding that today is the only day that matters. You are the ultimate potential for your growth. As I'm sitting, getting everything lined up. All right. Lining everything up. Entitlement. You can grab Ooh, a little bit chippy. What's up, what's up, what's up? You can grab the title to the car, but you still don't own the car. You can get the title and the deed to the crib. That still doesn't mean you own the crib. You can grab the title you can get the title of manager, GM, supervisor at your job. You still don't own the job. What we basically getting into is entitlement stifles your refinement. Entitlement stifles your refinement. Remember, if everything in my space is the absolute or the result of my internal, the things that I've dealt with, the things that I have not dealt with, the things that are dwelling in my shadows, then that means every title that I claim is simply to maintain the identity. That means I ain't got to do no more work, no more work. I'm always going to be stuck in a false sense of credibility. I remember, it does me no good now as an example. It does me no good right now to say that I was a manager and a supervisor and the best cook, the best employee ever at any of my jobs prior to this point. Does me no good. It does me no good it does me no benefit. It has no benefit only from where it stands. Because the only way I can use that is by staying within that field of thought. I must stay in that field of thought in order for that to be beneficial, because I don't own it. This week on the God Hour podcast, we got into that state of contingency. I always if you have not listened to God Hour podcast, break it down into threes. Break down the session into threes. We got into the irrational rations, the physical attachments, and the intentions that build that aspect of that space. We got into the auxiliary position when we put the physical attachments or the physical of the material in the primary position. It puts our emotional and our mental in the default second, and in the second it puts our mental in the auxiliary position. That means we ain't using it to work. And then we got into the parallel. We got into the aspects of the parallel perspective. So tune in and tap out. It's streaming now. But it made me really think about entitlement and me seeking entitlement or credibility to change my results of my life by avoiding the cause or my lessons. To avoid my causes and my lessons. Remember, there's a difference between assessing a space and the self-assessment of my space based on what I learned inside of that space. Everything outside of you is meant for you to learn from. So there's no need to assess it. It's absolute. Remember, everything of your unseen creates your absolute. From that void creates your absolute. So I can't change the result until I do the self-reflect of myself of going down that line. Remember yesterday we talked about the pity, the pattern, and the projection. Remember yesterday we talked about the pity, the pattern, and the projection. The highest form that you look for in the aspects of the traumatic events, the stresses, all these aspects, I'll always remember myself, I was looking for pity. I was looking for pity. That means I could avoid the situation. That means I can neglect the situation. I can reject things. I can kick it to the side. But due to my lack of ownership, I still got taxed the same at the end of the year, because that was what I was paying on. It reminded me of a video that I watched yesterday. And it reminded me of a video I watched yesterday on my TikTok while I was uploading videos. And he was like, it's better to be a company than going there as you're using your personal. And the way he broke it down was, if I go to a car dealership, and I go in there as an employee, they'll pay me 10 grand. I'm only going to get 6 grand. I'm only going to get 6,000 of that, because half of those taxes are going to go to FICA and everything else. FICA, state, federal, and all that stuff. But if I go in there as an LLC, then they can cut that check for 10 grand. I can spend 6 grand on my expenses to do that job, and then I only get taxed on the 4 grand. Not only do I get taxed on the 4 grand, I actually can get write-offs on that 6 grand because it was expenses for my ownership of my job. That's the aspect of when you're doing your work. Being able to write things off based on the lesson, because I assess my gains and my losses, my profits and my losses inside of that space. Remember, the financial literacy, your generational curses, your generational worth, those are byproducts or streams of thought that are connected to your emotional literacy. So the more I'm understanding my emotional aptitudes, the more I can set the contingencies in play for how I navigate the space. That means I can use my shadows and create anything that I want. Think about it like this. You were told hedge funds were bad, shadow corporations was bad, shadow accounts was bad. What's bad about them? What's bad about me knowing how to put money into another account that can't be touched or can't be taxed if I follow the red tape, if I follow the letter to how to do it? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? I can grab the title of the millionaire, but if I'm not refining myself, my emotional energy, I'm still gonna splurge. I can be a millionaire, but I'm still gonna splurge like I'm used to making hundreds of dollars. I'm still gonna splurge just like that. My budget doesn't change. I'm not changing how I'm interacting. I'm still doing the same things that I did in that space. So now it made me think about, if I didn't get the title, the guilt that I would feel. Like, if I didn't get this title, if I didn't get this position, I always had a reason that was already present. Man, it's because they don't like black people. It's because of this. It's because I don't kiss ass. It's because of this. I remember listening to motherfuckers say that shit all the time, every time that I was in the manager position. Yo, it must be nice they gave you the position. I would have took the position, but I don't kiss ass. They can't be, I can't be working all them shifts. They always gave me this list of details to why they couldn't do it. But they would repeat these things over and over and over again, and I would notice that it would always be the same line of thought. It would always be the same line of shit. It would always be the same lines, same one-liners. So I was like, how do I do that? Remember, everything in your space is to teach you some shit. So I'm like, how do I do that in my life based on this title? How do I do that? How do I do that in my life? How do I always try to say certain things based on trying to convince, based on things that I'm not assessed with myself? Remember, assessing a space versus the self-assessment. So now I'm looking at myself in this state of self-assessment. I'm like, oh, I've done that before. I say that shit all the time. I'm not saying it in that space, but there is a space in my life, there is a safe house in my environment that I use that same train of thought. It's just that in this space where I've created an identity or a title, that feeds all the other spaces. This is how you feed your environment. This is how you use your emotions to keep feeding your environment and to keep you in that cycle or in that circle or in that state of reaction or in that state of comfort. That entitlement stops you from refining yourself. Because if I get the title, then okay, cool. That means I'm gonna work. Because I used to think about it like this. I remember being a manager, and every single time my bosses would tell me, my overheads would tell me, they would sit there and be like, you do not have to be on the line working that hard. You are no longer in that position. It is now time for you to delegate, teach, delegate, and put aces in their places. In my mind, only thing I would react to is I'm the ace inside the place. I would use a lot of those same, this is how I use those lines. Well, don't nobody want to work. They lazy. They're this, they're that. I was still acting in the employee role. So that title didn't mean anything if I was going to still do it. That title didn't mean anything if I was going to still do it. And even in that same instance, because remember we in that polarity, even in that same instance, I remember the reverse psychology of the cooks and what we would use against like our general manager or our managers, like, oh, you just saying that because you can't do it anymore. And now they had something to prove, like I still can do it. And then watching them work with no sense of standard, it made me realize even more that the title didn't mean anything, because it stopped me even further from refining my skills and my craft, refining myself, bringing myself to the highest potential, assessing and bringing me to a new standard. Because that sense of entitlement, it comes with conditions. Remember, the title comes with conditions. Yeah, you can get paid more. Yeah, you get paid more. Yeah, you can have a little more freedom, but you still within inside of a space that you ain't getting no benefit from that outside of that. Think about it like this. You can go get the title to your car tomorrow, and tomorrow that bitch get wrecked. The next day, that same day, your car can get wrecked. You can go get the title to your house tomorrow. You can go get the title to a crib tomorrow. And then tomorrow a hurricane come through and knock your whole house down. Only thing you're gonna be sitting there, man, only thing you're gonna be sitting there is real emotional. Man, I just got this house and damn. But think about all the stuff you needed to learn, and think about all the things you needed to learn in order to sustain that space. So no matter what the physical aspect was, you still had it. How many times did you get a phone call when you was looking up houses? How many times when you took that phone call, you looked up houses and you looked on your Facebook, your Instagram, or whatever page it was, and somebody hit you up talking about homeowners insurance? How many times did you get that call about homeowners insurance? How many times did you swipe past some shit and look into that contract and look at homeowners insurance? How many times did you put it off? Man, I don't need that insurance right now because I got the money up. I got the money up front. I can handle that. If you didn't, like, okay, give you an example. To get a house that's about 250 grand, we don't go up. We going outside of the comfort zone. If I get a house that's $500,000, I need at least 10% to go towards the insurance, another 10% to go towards taxes, and another 15% just to go towards the insurance, just to go towards the maintenance of the house. That's about 75% of that house. So I can go get the title and go get the house, But if I don't have what it is, if I do not have the internal aspects to maintain that space, I'm gonna lose it as fast as I got it. One of the lines, the first segment on the podcast, I talked about the aspects of you want to go across country. You want to go across country. You don't want to depend on nobody. You want to go across country, but you need a car to go across country. So you go grab a car. You go grab a 1994 Chevy Impala. 1994 Chevy Impala. Now you don't want to be driving and looking bad, so you go get the paint job done. You can put some rims on it. You want to ride nice, so you put the sound system in it. You go over to Walmart or Pep Boys and you go grab the seat covers and you riding. Now you riding. Now you going from where you at right now to across country. Your car break down in Arizona. It's hot as hell in Arizona right now. Your car break down in Arizona. Who the fuck are you mad at? You took a car from 1994 that had over 300,000 miles and didn't do any of the internal work to ensure it to go across country. You didn't do any of the internal work to make sure it can go across country. But just because you had the title, you felt you had some ownership. This is how we react when we stuck within the physical. That's the result of the physical and the material world based on the result. This is what happens when we're not looking at my patience, my resolve, my integrity, my humility, my vulnerability, my emotional understanding. None of that's found in the result. All of that's found inside my path. That's the intimacy of me getting in tune with my path. Everything that you doing based on trying to reach, you want the title without the work, you gonna be, think about let's go even deeper. I just watched another video while I was getting done at the gym. While I was at the gym, my man just said in the video, he was like, based on the educational debt, which is in the trillions, would you say America is educated? Simply because of the debt, would you say America is educated? Yeah, because we got titles and we got degrees and okay. That title don't mean anything. There's whole doctors that have been working for the last 12 years. There's doctors that have been working for the last 12 years. They still got a whole clipboard with cheat sheet notes on it. But that's the head doctor at whatever hospital you went to. Your mechanic got more credibility than your doctor. It's about the hands-on. It's about the work that I'm doing behind that. If I'm always looking into the space and I'm thinking that the physical is going to set my tone and my emotions naturally come second and my mentality comes in the auxiliary position, that means I ain't going to think about it until it's triggered. Remember, you create the trigger. We talked about that yesterday. You create the trigger. You create the trigger based on the lesson of your absolute that keeps coming up into your space. You can avoid the lesson all day. You can keep dressing up your results all day. You can literally dress up your results all day. You can go get that. You can go get that vehicle and you can put rims on it. You can put the system in it. You can put your name on the back of it all day. You can put your name, you can go get your name stitched into the seats all day. You can do that all day. But if that car gets in a wreck, everything you put on that car drop down the value of the car. You can't even write off the depreciation of the car. You got a whole house and you got everything inside your house insured and you done all this stuff to your crib. But if the hurricane hit, some of that shit ain't covered. Some of that shit ain't gonna be covered. They're gonna give you the bare minimum of the price to it. It ain't never gonna be what it was when you had it. But this is what I mean with your shadow work, your internal work being synonymous with the LLC mentality. The LLC mentality is about building the path to the result. If I go get a car right now, if I go get a car and the requirements to get a car to be able to write it off on my taxes, it has to be at least 6,000 pounds. It got to be at least 6,000 pounds. 6,000 pounds. Then I can write off the depreciation and everything else I put in the car. I can write off the gas, write off the maintenance. I can write off the gas, the maintenance. I can write off the car. I can write off the detailing. I can write off any emblems and anything I put on my car. I can write off all of that depreciated value. Even to the aspects, I'm glad he said the aspects about the insurance. If I go get insurance simply to cover the car, it only covers the car. But what about everything else with the car that I got to work on? What about the things that aren't covered? That has to come out of my pocket if I don't have a warranty. But if I go get the life insurance policy, if I learn about the life insurance policy that I can go get and I can go pay off and I can go create a trust for my life insurance policy, I can borrow against that all day, drop it into a compound interest account and then pay off that and just keep loaning myself the money. That's what the bank does. That's what the bank does based on the ownership of your money. That's what the bank does. So I can sit there and be like, nah, I can't trust banks. The only reason you don't trust something is because you don't know the ins and out of it. The only reason, just like going to synonymous with my internal work, the only reason that I would be triggered in trust issues with myself is because I didn't know it. I was not willing to learn an aspect about myself. So everything in my space reflected those trust issues. In the aspects of my early neglection when I was younger, the early rejection and neglect that I had when I was younger, I had a lack of guidance. I had a lack of the protection to understand and to the guidance and understanding my emotions naturally inside my space. I needed things, I've said this before, I needed things that were based on neglect in my space. I needed something to neglect me to help me sit in that space so I can keep reacting to it. So the space stays stable. Remember, reaction is comfort. Stability ain't nothing without ownership. So that it don't matter what title I held, I always had a false sense of stability based on the title. As long as I had the title, I made the money. Without the title, then I don't make the money. Therefore, I can't make the budget. Therefore, I can't save. I read about that preacher. But when you're looking at yourself now, the most important point, like we can use the stars and constellations, the Aquarian full moon or satellite, whatever you want to call it, it's all about the aspects of the subconscious. It's all about understanding and disassociating and going into the aspects of the subconscious. Go ahead and read what this characteristics of Aquarius is, and that's the work that you're doing on your subconscious. Instead of being like, oh my God, it's another full moon, let me do another ritual. Let me make another spell. Instead of looking at it for what it actually is. I'm depending on titles to avoid my refinement. I would depend on that title to set the tone of my refinement. I would depend on that title to set conditions so I could avoid my standard. I could avoid my levels of assessment. The title don't mean shit if my standard doesn't match what that title is supposed to be. Remember, you can go grab the car, that shit can get wrecked tomorrow. You can go get the crib, that crib can get fucked up tomorrow. You can go down to the courthouse and get hit upside the head tomorrow. But now you got to pay even more to get out of it. It's time for you to sit in that shadow. It's time to sit in the shadow. It's time to deal with that shadow. It's time to stop avoiding the lessons that are being brought right in front of you. You can keep doing the same avoiding dance, the same neglect, the same rejection dance. You can keep, because here's the truth. Here's another truth before we get out of here. What you become based on conflict, that means the emotion that comes up based on conflict, whatever emotion it may be, that means whatever fear-based narrative comes up, that's the true version of you. I had to understand that when I got angry in certain situations, that was the true version of myself. When I got in a sense of being scared or fear or whatever, insecurity or jealousy, that was the true aspect of me. That was the shadow that had been in that space the entire time. And I could just keep repeating it over and over again, making that shadow stronger in the past. That means I would have to stay in the past. That means no matter what I did in the present, it always fed my past. Because my pace was still the same. I needed more and more titles. I needed more and more titles. I needed more and more perception to create me in that space. So no matter what, at the end of the day, of course, at the end, when the light goes away, now I got to sit with myself and look at my reality, my absolute. Now I'm in perception. In the dark is your perception. So if you scared of the, think about it like this. You scared of the dark? What about that perception? Yes, exactly. The titles give you a false sense of security. Think about it like this: a false sense of progress and a false sense of security. So if I got the title, me having the title as a manager, okay, cool. I got some false sense of security. That means I got some new insurance I can get, and I get a salary instead of a paycheck. Okay, cool. I got a false sense of security. But now I got to conform to those conditions. I don't own anything, so I got to conform to those conditions to keep those securities. I got to stay in those conditions. That means somebody can call out. I used to say that shit all the time. You can call out all you want. I get paid regardless. I remember saying that shit all the fucking time. But me saying that, remember, your words are your spells. I'm saying this shit over and over and over again. Motherfuckers call out. Now I'm stuck online. Now I'm stuck doing the grunt work. And then I gotta walk offline. And now I gotta go do my closing paperwork. I was just giving myself more work to do. Just so I can sit there in that space of complacency and complain. Man, I'm tired of these motherfuckers not showing up for work. And I'm tired of this not happening. But I already had said it. I already said, and I made the decree. I made the contract. I brought it into the existence. I created that parallel perspective of how I needed to survive inside of that space in my conditions. Still got paid the same. Still had the same benefits. Because I was stuck in that employee mentality. The employee mentality, I'm not gonna do shit until they give me a raise. Salary mentality, regardless if you there or not, you got some more benefits, but you gotta adhere to another set of conditions. If I'm not secure here, if this isn't secured, all day. If I'm not secure here, nothing else matters. If I'm not secure here, nothing else matters. If I don't secure this path, I can't trust in any path. If I'm not opening up my path to the heart, that crossroads, and assessing these crossroads, that means I got pity, projection, and my purpose. If I'm not opening up this crossroads, then nothing else that I do matters. I'll always be in the aptitude of need. I'll always be in the aptitude of want. I'll always be in that aptitude of the physical. I can't transition. I can't create. I only can mimic. It's time to step out of the provisions. And that's the major key. It's a privilege to learn once you know it. It's a privilege to learn what you need to, it's a privilege to learn. But as I always say, if you are in that space, and you know that you're ready, you feeling that sense of overwhelm and anxiousness, that just means you're ready. You feeling overwhelmed, anxiousness, you feeling the insecurity, you feeling the doubt, you feeling the jealousy, you feeling the questions, you feeling the frustration, you feeling lost, you've already taken the first step. That's the first step. What you do after that step sets up that path. That means everything from setting up the consultation, whether it's the shadow work consultation, whether it's the reading, which is a mini consultation, to see where you at and get you into that space, hit me up in the inbox. Hit me up in the inbox, hit me up in the DM. You are your progress. You are your potential. You are your perspective. Your purpose, your true potential, your perspective is limitless. Your perspective is limitless. Your potential is limitless. So anything that is limiting you or keeps you in the reaction, that's not your true potential. That's based on that identity to maintain. I desire you to be the fucking best. Be the fucking best. Healing is destructive. Let's test some shit down. I love you. We love us. Ashe.